Hello and welcome to In Good Company with Impact. My name is Dan Jones, and in this series we're talking all things leadership. In this episode, we're going to explore how leaders can create environments that allow people and organisations to achieve their full potential. To help me, I'm joined by Sylwia Chada. Sylwia is a strategic people leader, creating inclusive environments that empowers people growth that shape business's future. To her, success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, sacrifice, and most of all, love for what you are doing or learning to do. She's also a weightlifting champion. We first met Sylwia when she was General Manager of TikTok Poland in Central and Eastern Europe, and we are delighted that she has joined us today. Sylwia, thank you very much for joining us.
Dan, good morning, hello, good evening, whatever we will be watched. Thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast, and I'm really excited about today's conversation. Thank you so much.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I'll jump straight in with my first question, which is to help us to get to know you a little better. And it's the same question that we're asking everyone, which is to do your best to tell me about yourself in 60 seconds.
Okay, I think I can say it in never give up. This is something which I always say, but let me use also this time. So I'm engineering graduate from Polish Technology University, and I began my career in media as a interim in media agency. And then I moved to the other side and started exploring digital and media digital sector. And I started with Onet, biggest Polish internet portal, actually, and then I start gaining expertise of this digital, increasing, growing digital market. And so after 25 years of my career, which is now 25, I just celebrated in November last year, I feel like I did what I loved. And I'll always do what I love. And I love to work in places where I feel like I'm pushing myself, I'm growing, and I'm developing myself through different experience. And I love work with people. And when I get my first team and I start working, I understood that I can grow and I can learn and become better person through really close connection with the people I work with and grow through the people and their expectations, which was like really amazing. And this is what I do all the time whenever I'm lifting, whenever I'm coaching, or whenever I talk to certain people. I really try to listen and then give them my best experience. And I really feel the most rewarded when I see that people are happy and they are growing and moving forward.
Well,
This is about me.
that leads me neatly into our next question, which is, what are some of the biggest challenges you've needed to lead through, and how did you show yourself to be the best version of a leader that your team or the organization that you're working for needed?
Actually, the biggest challenge for a leader who has 25 years of experience is, first start working with very young people as Gen Z or millennials. But I think the biggest challenge I went through for all my career was when I joined TikTok and I started building the team. And it was the full lockdown time, still the first wave of COVID. And, I sat at my home and spending like 24/7 trying to build a team, because I've been spending over 20, I think like 8% of my time on the calls and interviewing people. And whenever someone joined, I felt like we are disconnected because it's only on video. And and I always try to understand and talk to the people and how I can get to them and how we start connecting and feeling as a team, because I didn't want to have a bunch of people working separately at home but feeling that they are creating one the same ultimate goal and business. So that was the biggest challenge, I must say. And what we need, I think it's being very honest, and humility is the key to actually build yourself and show yourself,
Mm.
with the team, with the people, and let them engage with their goals and with the environment that they are joined in a way that they feel comfortable, because this understanding that we are not anymore like leaders and guiding the team to a certain goal and uh, asking them to fulfill their performance, but being as a friend, as a kind of partner, and demonstrating this connection to their work, and like trying to build this kind of friendship relationship is something which was like really tough, and
Mm.
very time consuming, and also for me was very, I sat by myself through the night, and I was like, okay, did something better this time than the day before, and when I see that the people are a team.
Well, I'm pleased you brought up TikTok, because I was thinking about it in preparation for our conversation today, but I've
Mhm.
never actually made a TikTok. But it's no secret that it's taken the world by storm. I mean, I've got some data here, and I was interested to learn that TikTok app has been downloaded 3 billion times and has over 1 billion monthly active users. And the majority of TikTok users are Gen Z, which you've mentioned, and closely followed by millennials,
Yeah.
which is where I find myself. When it comes to engaging with millennials and Gen Z in the workplace, does it differ at all from leading with older groups? What kind of leadership do you expect from them, and how do you effectively build those skills?
Yeah. So I'd say millennials, I mean, the members of Gen Z are much more independent. So they prefer and to figure out things by themselves.
Mm.
Why millennials prefer to work in a teams, and they put much more stress on having someone's support in the workplace. But they both like to share workplace where they are in a way that they want to share it. So they don't want to spend the whole day at the desk. They also need places that they can meet, that they feel comfortable, that they can have this, would say, moment of relax. So this is something which is really important, and we cannot create. It was very, yeah. So TikTok is also like a huge success by it understanding that those people, they want to engage on their rules. So it was very important to to give them like build with them the culture of the company, and also understand how to work with them. And for leaders, this is like they cannot control them, they cannot micromanage. They need to show that they trust. This is something which is like ultimate um, like understanding for connecting with those generations, because you need to show integrity, and
Mm.
this is something which is the base. If they feel that you are pretending, or if you feel that playing on yourself, then you lose trust, then you lose any connection with these people. So this is very challenging for us as the leaders to like take, to start listening more, and also show much more from ourselves, which is like, if I do mistake, I share it with the team,
Mm.
and this is the way how I can build the trust, how I can start engaging with the team. And we must demonstrate, this really willingness to like this open conversation, taking the feedback from them, which is not always, very nice, but they're very straightforward. And
Mm,
sometimes it's just like, whoa, it's kind of a hush when you hear it. But the truth is that listen, stay humble and open, and always show your integrity. This is the base how you can engage. I think not only with millennials or Gen Z, but every team.
I think we are seeing more and more of that in organisations, particularly
Yes.
as you say, as the workforce gets younger. We're definitely
Yeah.
starting to see a lot more of
Well,
that.
I think, and this is the definition of servant leadership
Mm,
is created, and I think it's taking this philosophy and understanding what is servant leadership is really the way how we can start in building more integrate, more engaged, and more better performance team. Because of course, at the end of the day, we need to we need to hit certain numbers. We need to uh, show very high performance. We need to grow as a business. So and the way how we can help them to, because they want to learn, so this is really
mm,
important that both members of Gen Z and millennials, they want to learn, they want to grow. So so for us as the leaders of people who working with those teams, they need to show themselves that they really care about each team member growth, and they support relevant training or coaching, or even having body who supports your growth. This is which leads to really good results for the company and for the team.
Well, one of the things you picked up on there was around trust, and I just wanted to pick up a little bit more on that because we've recently done some research with over 500 global CEOs and senior executives, and the number one driver of people engagement and retention is trust. So I was wondering, what advice would you give to leaders who are maybe managing change but need to build trust and keep motivation?
Whew. I think it's be yourself. I mean, really be yourself and
Mm,
understand that you are the part of the team. You don't need any name of your position to be a leader. You
yeah.
lead by the way how you behave. If you understand your role, that you are responsible for the growth of the team, and uh, you are obliged to drive performance through the growth of the people and through the really straight, like really honest conversations. Sometimes it's very challenging conversation.
Mm,
This is the way how really build a trust. And I must say that within my career, my teams were, wherever I worked, they felt like, you were unique, because we knew you, who you are, because I was like always me. Of course, in the business environment, we need to stick to some rules, but still we can be ourselves and keep ego very low, because this
mm.
is something which kills some of the really great leaders or managers. This is something which we also need to be very conscious about. Like, I think in every environment. So this is what help build engagement, because if you have engaged employees who feel that they can grow in the company, that they also feel that they create the culture, you don't need to worry about retention.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
Yeah.
Ego is something you brought up there, and that is one of my questions. And because managing ego is something it is challenging for anyone. I mean, just admitting to having ego is huge. How can leaders, in your opinion, manage that ego?
It's very hard work.
Mm,
and it's ongoing work. It's never ending work. And this is something which I experienced as a very challenging path in my life, but also I really become better person and better leader. It is very hard to take the feedback when someone says, I don't agree, I disagree with you, or you are wrong, or you shouldn't say that. And then when you feel like, okay, but you need to digest it and not react immediately. So I think this is like kind of this is still like, if you want to stay in this game, if you really, it's about still growing, learning, an open mind, an open mindset. And this is this growing mindset which we talk a lot about in in every company. And recent also we talk about this a lot in TikTok, this open mindset. So, and growth mindset, the base for the growth
Mm,
mindset is that you accept certain circumstances, and then you move, then you change, you grow. And of course, some boundaries cannot be pushed because you feel uncomfortable. So, but there is still, and then we come back again to your humility and to your, and how you show yourself and what kind of basic values you have for your life. And if you stick to it, and if you understand that you are not the most, experienced person in the room, but you let other people to be in this room and be much more experienced or have better expertise in certain topic, then it's fine, then you can manage this ego. So
that's
it's hard work, and sometimes you need to
yeah,
go home, cry, and then admit that you were wrong, okay, and then the next
yeah,
day go to the person and say, hey, you were right, thank you so much for giving this me
yeah.
feedback, and we grow
And I
through the
think
feedback. So,
I think that's it, isn't it? As soon as you start to recognize those signs, then you can grow from that. One thing that I wanted to ask you was, we at Impact have uh, our purpose is around liberating human potential in organizations. In your experience, how can leaders create environments that inspire people and help them achieve their full potential?
how um I think that I think I mentioned already about this, but um, of course, like still, I still see that change, which is great. But I think that companies trying still to put, like teen, millennials and Gen Z and all workers in a certain brackets, and they try to like put them and expect them to do certain things, and this is not something which really relates to the people. And I think that everyone has the best understanding how they want to work, how they, what they feel that how they want to perform. And of course, first is very important is hold the interview process and onboarding, because you need to be certain that hiring people and onboarding, that they have a kind of the same profile and open the same willingness and understanding the company that they are joining. So this really, we had a lot of retention at the beginning, because people thought, oh, TikTok is a great, video, and joy, it's fun. But when
Mm,
you join the business part, it's still, you need to do the business. And
mm,
this is and it causes a lot of frictions, and it's like very stressful time. But then when we have the same people and we let them, give them space first to listen what they want, okay, and then show them that, okay, this is what we can do for you as leaders, because this is like unchangeable, we cannot do this. But then we have some um I mean, the part of the challenges, okay, we take this as a leaders and we will do it by ourselves and we provide you the solution. But I think the most important is that show that most of the problems that they're creating is in all the teams, and working together with them and helping them and engaging with them,
Mm.
and also letting them to create and listen what they need and create um, learning paths, and even and engage with L&D teams. This is the way how we can support the growth. So still coming back is it's kind of trust through the communication, build a trust through the communication, have open communication and understand whatever they want, and translate to the business, and then actually let them do how they want. But then you need to check. And
Yeah.
this is the moment when you can build actually, put them on the next level. And if they don't deliver, it's something where we do the check and we say, hey, what's wrong? And I experienced a couple of this conversation where they said, I thought that this is my way, but this is not my way. And then we both decided what are the next steps.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to sort of change direction a slight bit and talk about, well, for example, we talk a lot about pivotal moments, and it's often regarded as a success whenever we deliver solutions to help people to reach the pivotal moment is something we feel very proud of. To get to where you are now, have you had any particular pivotal moments, and could you tell us about those?
You know, I think this is I think that Napoleon Hill said that the desire is the starting point for achieving. So you need to desire. And as a beginning, I said I love what I do, and I never thought about going to work, but at doing what I want. And that was something which really, really drove me to the place where I am. But the truth is also that there's no easy way. It's always hard work. It's always hard work, open mind, and feedback. Feedback, what taking really seriously and seeing whether you are still on a track or no. And as in a sport, this is I think understanding that you enjoy the process but not the outcome from this process. So, and of course, I think you need to be lucky. And I must say that the moment I remember which really helped me, of course, but this is like in always in life, everything others you can control, but sometimes you also need to be sometimes lucky, like meeting the
Mm,
right people, like being in a right place. And actually I met the right people, and which helped me to enter this like media world. And but then it was everything on me. So and I wanted to be the best version of myself, and I push
mm,
myself, every like boundaries. And I'm also kind of a stubborn person. So I said, no, I want to change something. I want to improve. I will achieve it. And I think that this, like my inner um, power I have, and like this, um, something which drives me to change what I want to change, and
mm.
and I never give up. So this is something which really I feel like this is the
Well, as we've already pointed out, success is no accident,
no, definitely no.
and apart from being lucky and meeting the right people.
Yeah, actually, I met the
But
right
but it
person, I
is
must
absolutely
say.
what you do with that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so, what throughout your career then, and sticking with that theme, is that what do you think, or what would you say has been your most memorable learning experience?
You know, I think that was also in TikTok. I really thought
Mm,
about it. Like what happened then, and then I had kind of like really this moment in the past. You know, that was the way how I communicate. And I'm very direct person. I'm quite energized. So, I came, that was the first days in the office. So I try to engage with everyone as much as I can, show myself like, being very intense in terms of like contacting, talking, showing, because that was in my head. I perceived that this is the way how I can, ignite this energy of having team, and showing that I'm really happy that we are together. And we TikTok runs around 2 times in a year performance reviews. And the team I was leading before, because I still couldn't find the leader, gave me the worst ever, feedback and the performance review score. And when I saw it and my manager showed me this, he said I was like devastated. I was really
Mm,
devastated,
mm,
because it was all about the way how I communicate, and how I'm not seeing and I'm not reflecting on others' emotions. And I felt like, I remember it, I really couldn't digest that for a couple of weeks. And I felt like I failed. And yeah, but then I started working on it, and still I'm working on it. But that was the moment when I understood that actually the way how I treat others and how I communicate with others, and seeing the other person, you know, in his her all emotions and needs, and where they are.
mm.
This is the way how we can actually really build really close relation, and having really open and trust communication. And yeah.
That feedback's so important, isn't it? In order to because we often strive to, as you've already mentioned, to be the best best versions of
Yeah.
ourselves, and yet if we're not given that feedback of when we're not at our best, then how are we supposed to learn from it? So it's a really good thought. So this leads me to my last question, which is again something we're going to ask everyone, which is if you were starting again, what's the best piece of advice you'd give yourself?
Go girl, you're doing the best. I mean, this is what I would say to myself. I think when I look back, this is for me, this is the definition of success. Today I feel very successful person, and it has nothing with my career, it has nothing with my position or whether I am. I live my life in a way how I want to. I'm still learning from the people. I'm becoming the more, the better person. And I have my rules. And every day when I wake up and go to the bathroom, and seeing myself, my reflection in a mirror, I'm saying like, thank you so much for like sticking to your goal and sticking to your rules. And that's why I'm saying like, go girl. There was
That's really
nothing I
powerful.
would change in my life. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's really powerful, and I think it's a nice way of closing things today. Well, Sylvia, it's been an absolute pleasure having you with us today, and I just wanted to thank you again for joining us. And I think we've got some real nice insights into a bit more about you and what you stand for. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you again for being so great and joining us today.
Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you for bringing me here, and for this 30 minutes we had of the conversation. It was a great pleasure. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.